up? And I'm so happy to be here with you again. Today we are going to be doing a read aloud called Another Celebrated Dancing Bear. I love this book for so many reasons. It talks about friendship, it talks about the country Russia, it talks about preserves and bread and having tea with a friend. It teaches you dancing moves. It's so wonderful, but I think the element of friendship is wonderful in this book. So let's go ahead and start reading. We are reading Another Celebrated Dancing Bear. In the days of the Tsar, there lived two bears who were excellent friends. Boris was a heavy-footed brown bear whose heart was soft as butter. Max, which was short for Maximovich, was taller than Boris and always seemed quite elegant. That is, he was elegant for a brown bear. The fact is that Max was a dancer. Yes, a dancer in the Moscow circus. One evening, Boris stopped by his friend's apartment after work. He was feeling glum, as bears sometimes do. Max greeted him with a wave. "Come in, Boris. Let's have some tea, shall we?" "Oh, that would be something," Boris said. Max helped him off with his heavy work jacket and hung it in the hall closet. Then Max put the samovar to boil. On the wall in the dining room, Boris saw a magnificent poster in gay colors and fancy letters. "Coming to St. Petersburg next week, Max, the celebrated dancing bear," Boris read. Max placed the samovar on the table. He set out 2 glasses and 2 plates. He sliced a lovely, fresh Russian bread that was a warm brown color, almost the same color as Max himself. Before Boris knew it, 2 large tears rolled down his fuzzy brown cheeks. "Boris, what is it?" "Oh, what a fine poster! Traveling to St. Petersburg? Wow, how wonderful!" Max poured the tea. "Some preserves, Boris?" Boris nodded, and he spread strawberry preserves on a thick slice of bread. He took a gulp of steaming tea. "Boris, you rascal," Max raised his glass. "I believe you are jealous." "Jealous? Well, but who wouldn't be? You travel, the band plays, you dance before a cheering audience. Oh, but Boris, I know many who envy you because you work at the animal hospital. They think it must be marvelous to help animals who have been injured or have sore throats. You envy me? All I do is walk around with a pencil behind my ear. I see to it that the elephants and the monkeys and tigers take their medicine. When the lions roar and the tigers snarl, I make a list of the foods that they don't like." Max rose to his full height. "Why can't you also dance?" "Yesterday, Max, my pencil slid off my ear and down inside my jacket collar. Of course, I couldn't reach it. Do you know what those monkeys did?" "If you want to dance, I will teach you," Max said. Well, they thought it was the funniest thing they had ever seen, pointing at me, giggling and laughing. Oh, if I had a bucket of water. "Of course, I will teach you," Max waved his spoon at Boris. "When I come back from St. Petersburg, your first lesson will be Monday after dinner. Lessons will be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 o'clock to 8. What do you say to that, Boris, old friend?" Boris swallowed the last of his bread and preserves. He sipped the last of his tea. "You really think I could learn?" he asked. "I'm going to teach you," Max said. At the door, the friends embraced. Boris was trembling. "I won't sleep," he said. He beamed at Max. "I'm so excited." Max stood in the doorway and waved to Boris. Boris hurried back to his friend. He thanked Max again for the tea, for the offer of dancing lessons, for everything. Max laughed and waved goodnight again. Would he be able to learn, Boris wondered as he strolled along Petya Street. He felt a little foolish. Dancing lessons at his age? But the moon shone ahead on Petya Street. She seemed to say how wonderful to dance. So slowly the week passed. Max was away in St. Petersburg. At the hospital, Boris was kept busy. Some of the big cats were being shifted about. Oh, Leo the lion would have plenty to roar about now. When Boris drew near the monkeys, they crowded into a pyramid. Some of them still had casts on their legs and paws, but there was no keeping them in bed. Now they pointed casts and paws at Boris, all giggling and chattering away. Having fun, Boris asked them, chewing on his pencil. Finally, Monday, Boris was at Max's door on the dot of 7. Am I too early? You are on time, Max said. Tonight we learn one step, one simple step. With this step, Boris, you will be able to dance 1,000 evenings and 1,000 different dances, and no one will realize that you know only one step. The lesson began. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boris had to walk in rhythm, then glide. He glided forward and backward. He glided first to one side and then to the other. Max put a record on the phonograph. Soon Boris was gliding to the music. Good, said Max. You see how easy it is? Am I dancing? Am I really dancing? Cried Boris. My dear friend, you are really dancing. And now we rest. Boris was pleased to see that Max had put the samovar to boil. Boris went home gliding on his toes all the way. Heads swiveled up and down Petya Street. He knew he must look strange, even comical, but he was too excited to stop gliding. Besides, he was afraid he would forget what he had learned. Ah, the joy of dancing, he murmured to the moon. The moon smiled down at Boris. She seemed to move in time with Boris's gliding steps. The weeks zoomed by. So much to learn. Sometimes Max frowned. Sometimes he told Boris to lift a foot higher or faster. Sometimes Boris forgot which foot was his left and which foot was his right. What a dumb bear I am, he mumbled. But Boris knew that Max was a fine teacher. He knew that he must learn and he must listen to everything Max said. At home, Boris practiced. He bought records and played them as he danced. When he was too tired to practice, he read books about famous dancers. One evening, as the two bears were sipping tea, Max said, Boris, I was thinking, I would like to try a new dance, the dance of hussars. It is not easy, but I think you can do it. Shall we try? No doubt about it, this was a far cry from Boris's first lesson. This was tricky. There was kicking and leaping. There were fast, tricky little steps. He had to keep careful time to the music. Boris kept step with Max the best he could. When the dance was over, he mopped his beer brow with a bright red handkerchief. Would you like to come with me to Minsk, dear friend? Would you like to dance with me in the circus? Boris was not sure that he understood. Me, he said. Max embraced his friend. It would be a joy to dance together, wouldn't it? Tears sprang to Boris's eyes. To think I was so foolish as to be jealous. To think that I never gave you lessons before. Just for fun, the two old friends struck up the hussars' dance. They grinned at each other, bowed, and applauded each other like two young cubs. The samovar bubbled away. It too seemed pleased that now there would be two celebrated dancing bears. And there they are at the circus, doing the dance. The end. Wasn't that book wonderful? I love this read aloud. It is so fun. And so I want to show you a couple things that you can do to bring this book to life at home. One of them is to make toast with preserves. Here's my toast, here's my preserves. This book talks about making this brown, delicious Russian bread, but I didn't have any at home, and you don't have to have the exact bread. or the exact food that a book talks about, you can bring the book to life whatever way you can. So I have this bread and I have some preserves. So a fun thing to do is to study, like, what is the difference between a preserve and jelly? And preserves use the whole fruit, not just the juice of the fruit. The preserves use the whole fruit. And so maybe you can make some preserves with your parents this month. It would be fun to do. It's a great season, spring. Lots of fruits are going to start coming out at the grocery store. So you can try new preserves and you can try to make some. This is Mrs. Bishop's favorite preserves, if you guys are curious. Bonnie Mammon preserves are the best. You can also bring this book to life by drinking tea. He served his friend tea. Now, he used a Russian samovar, and you can look up that word on Google and see what is a samovar, and you'll see that it's a Russian tea kettle. Well, I don't have a samovar in my house, so I'm just going to use my normal tea kettle and drink some tea while I read this book and study about Russia. Now, how do we study about Russia? You want to get some maps out. So I have these awesome atlas books, and I have maps. I have this giant atlas book. I love this atlas. So I have this giant atlas, and I have this page set to right here. And this little spot right here, that's Moscow. And this book talks about Moscow. It also talks about St. Petersburg. So you could use your big giant maps to find these locations in the country, study the country, study what countries are around this country, and you can also do just a Google search to learn about Russia in that way. So that's just some fun things to do to bring this book to life, to learn more. But I have 3 videos that I'm going to line up right after I'm done talking. 2 of them are from my kids, and they brought these nesting dolls to life. And the last video is me and my kids doing these dance moves from the book. So we try to learn to do Russian dancing together. So if you guys are going to try to do some Russian dancing at home, I'd love for you to send me some videos so I can see you trying to bring this book to life. I hope you love it. Now stay tuned for my videos. Of our Another Celebrated Dancing Bear is all of these awesome stretches, and it will teach you how to do some Russian dancing, which this book is all about. So we're going to practice stretching and doing the dance that he's teaching us to do. So step by step, kids. Are you ready? These are my kids. Wave hello.
Hi.
Okay, the first step is we put our hands over our head and we kick out. And the next one is we touch our foot. And the next one is we kind of bend and we do like this. And the next one is we lift it up, the other knee. So if we bend down to this knee, we pick it up to this knee, other knee, other knee, other knee. There you go. Yes. Now we cross our arms and we bend down low. Let's back up towards the garage, guys. Bend down low and we kick. And you see how low you can go. Okay, and then the next page starts it again. So we cross our arms, we kick out, and we touch our toe, and then we lean down our leg, and we lift this one up, right? We go up, and we go down, and we cross our arms, down, and kick. Can you get lower? Can you get lower? That's so hard. Can you guys do better? If you guys can do this Russian dance, get it on video and send it to Mrs. Bishop. This is the dance from the Russian book, Another Celebrated Dancing Bear. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.